Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Prepping by Faith, and today we're going to be talking about never again. And so these are the things that I will never do again or never store again or the same way again with prepping. These are things that I've learned as I've gone along in this journey and in our moving transition and getting set up in a new household. Now I want to be clear that I'm not telling any of you guys that I believe that you should stop prepping. I think that would be a huge mistake with everything that's going on. I know I put out a lot of videos recently about my mindset shifting concerning prepping, and it is in no way to discourage you in prepping. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking about finding that balance, trying to figure out what works, tweaking some things so that we are not totally consumed by it and letting it dominate our lives. So the first thing that I want to talk about, I've touched on this before, I'm never going to store excess amounts of canned goods again. Now I know a lot of people want to have plenty of canned goods in their prepper pantry, and if that works for you, that's wonderful, but I think it's better if we store what we are using and we're able to adequately rotate through that. Just because you can use something past an expiration date, why have a bunch of older things in your prepper pantry? You may as well make sure that that stuff stays as fresh as possible. At least that is the mindset that I have now. So the other thing, and this might be a little bit controversial, this is actually something that I have changed my mind about recently, and that is flour. I feel like flour is bulky. It takes up a lot of excess room. I know a lot of us, myself included, guys, this is something that I was doing where I was putting so much of this stuff in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers and then putting them inside of these gamma vaults, and I had these gamma vaults just stacked up everywhere, and they were taking up a large footprint of space. Now for me personally, and I think a lot of us in the community, unless you are someone who bakes a lot or you make a lot of your own loaves of homemade bread, then you're probably not going through tons and tons of flour every year anyhow. So my mindset has shifted. I am only going to be stocking up on the flour that I am going to be consuming within a year, and I'm going to have that stored properly. Outside of that, I think it is a much wiser move to have an area in your home that's a storage area where you can store your hard white wheat berries or the red wheat, whichever one it is that you prefer to store, because those are going to last you for at least 30 years. And then you can grind them up. You need to make sure that you get yourself a good hand crank wheat grinder that you can take care of those wheat berries and grind that into the flour that you will be consuming as you go along. To me, that just makes a lot more sense, because I think a lot of us talk about this flour and we think it's going to last, but what if we get to that point in, let's say, 10 years and this stuff is just not as good a quality? I think it's better to leave it in that original substance, and that way it is going to be fresh. We know it's going to be good. So the other thing that I am not going to be storing too much of, and many of you guys have probably made the same mistake, is a year's worth of cereal for my family. I think that is a huge mistake that we made. You think that you need this much cereal, this many boxes, but those dates come up quicker than you realize, and trying to eat cereal past the date, it can go past the date, but it just still loses a lot of that integrity, that freshness. It does start to taste a little different over time. And so I'm not storing up tons and tons of boxes of cereal any longer. We're going to have a couple months worth, and then we're going to have things on hand that I know that will last, like the pancake mix and oats that we can make breakfast out of. That's going to be a much better idea for our family. The other thing is prepping foods in every single part of the house, allowing it to really dominate my home and take over. I have designated a room in my house, just like I had before, that is going to be my prepper pantry area, and everything is going to be staying within the confines of that space. I do have a little bit of a storage area in this house as well in the basement that is going to store more of my long-term stuff that's going to be in there, and that's just how we're going to do it. I'm not going to start sticking this stuff under the beds again. I'm not going to start filling up closets. For one, our closets are full anyhow with just regular things because these closets are a lot smaller. And I know a lot of you guys are in similar situations where you just don't have that storage. Now, there's a lot of stuff I'd put out on my channel before about finding space to put your preps, and I suggested these things. If you're in a position where you have absolutely nowhere else to put it, then perhaps that is the way that you have to go. But I want to encourage you to be careful in doing that, because as you allow those preps to creep in absolutely every space of your home, it really begins to crowd you out. And a lot of that can clutter your thinking, can destroy your creativity, can sort of make you feel boxed in and confined. And that's the last thing we want. We don't want our preps taking over our lives to the extent where we're essentially having to move out because they've moved in, right? The other thing I'm not going to do is store tons and multiples of products that I haven't tasted or tried. You know, I always encourage you guys to taste everything, and I didn't always follow my own advice. There were certain things that I picked up and I thought, oh, well, this is a really good deal, so I'm going to get a double pack, or I'm going to pick up 4 of these or 5 of these, and then come to find out we would taste it and we did not even like it. So then it's a situation where you're trying to offload it to someone else, all of the unopened ones, right, that you're trying to donate. It's great to help others out, but maybe those people won't like it either, you know? So that's really a waste of our resources. It's a waste of our money. So if you're going to try a different brand because yours isn't available, or you just want to try a new product, make sure you buy one of that product and taste it and test it out, try it out before you start stocking up on it and filling up your prepper pantry with these items. So don't make the same mistake I did with that. I'm not going to be stashing large amounts of anything, even if it is going to last me for years. And the reason for that is that I feel like if you start doing that, you go down a path where you're taking over the whole entire footprint of where you need to store your resources, where you need to store your preps, and you could be storing too much of one thing and not enough of something else. So we need to figure out a good number for the space that we have, because everybody has a finite amount of space. Be very careful in my calculations and in the amount of space that I have available to me. So the last thing that I'm not going to do, and I really want to encourage you guys to do the same. I know a lot of us enjoy watching so many prepping videos and getting all these wonderful tips, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with paying attention to the news and being mindful of everything. But what I'm not going to do is wrap my entire life around prepping. Prepping is going to have to wrap around me and what I'm doing. So we need to be always mindful of finding that balance, that fine line, and it's going to be different for every single person. So that is something that I have to be careful of, because it's very easy to get addicted to watching these things and doing these things, and it can be addicting even to work on our prepping. We should always be, fine-tuning our skills and those sorts of things. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not encouraging you guys not to do that. I'm just saying make sure you still carve out adequate time for yourself, for your family, for God. We need to do those things. Those are very important. Those are more critical than all of the stuff that we can stash away for our preps. So I hope this video has given you guys some ideas, has given you a fresh perspective, and I'm definitely not encouraging you guys not to prep. I'm just trying to help us find better ways to prep. So I'd love to hear some of the things that you guys have to say. If there's anything that you guys will never do again, please share it with me in the comment section. I think this really helps all of us in the community to learn and grow from each other. So with that, just continue to pray, prep, and put God first. God bless.